All right, welcome on into another episode of DCU Daily on Oh So Curious. We've got a ton to talk about, as always. Of course, we have the news that Disney's making a new theme park in Abu Dhabi. Okay, so we'll talk about that. They had their earnings call, so a bunch of Marvel news with Bob Iger talking about where Marvel is headed and how he feels good about it now. We have DC news. We have some Superman new merchandise. Or action figures, I guess, is one we're going to talk about. We do have to, of course, I saw in the thumbnail, talk about the Peacemaker teaser to the teaser. Yeah, they put out a little bit of a sneak peek. I guess maybe a sneak peek is a better way to describe it. We'll just call it a teaser to a teaser, and we'll discuss that. We'll break it down. Of course, we got to look at John Cena. We got to look at Frank Grillo, all the other cast members, a little bit of maybe a dark turn for one of the characters who was a hero in the previous season. We'll get into that and so much more. Of course, we have the news from the world of Hollywood, as well as other stuff like John Wick 5. We've got a new details from the director of the movie saying, hey, expect something very different from the new movie. So to talk about that and so much more, as always, we're going to hit that news intro and get things started.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. Number two.
All right, Mr. I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding.
You're
kidding. I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne. I like that. You're gonna love me.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see chords.
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What the world needs now.
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much. Oh, wow. Wow.
All right. Well, it's an early show today. I mentioned on the YouTube channel earlier, I put up a post saying, hey, we're going to go on a little bit sooner than we usually do every day because John and I have both got stuff going on this evening. John is going to see a movie, and I'm going to be tied up with some NBA basketball. So with that in mind, of course, we're going to talk to you guys about the latest news from Hollywood, including Marvel and DC. And I'm sure there's going to be a bunch more beyond that. As I mentioned, John Wick 5, there's going to be a few new details from Chad Stahelski talking about where that story might take the character, maybe in a different direction than a lot of people might be expecting, but it will still be something they'd want to see. So to talk about that and so much more, as always with me, I've got John. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fairly well. I'm excited about my movie. I'm excited to talk about certain trailers. Of course, DC stuff as well, but I was a fan of a couple trailers that were released today, so definitely want to talk about those.
Yeah, there's like 3 trailers we're going to talk about, in fact, so we will definitely get into that. Already in the chat, we've got Steven. Steven was first in the chat. Monique is dropping in. Hello, Monique. I got your comment on that post. We will bring that in, your question that you asked. We will talk about that later. Manos Time is also here. Hello, Manos Time. Yeah, we are on early today, Steven. As I mentioned, John and I are going to be tied up later in the day. I was talking to Liz earlier, though, so she is busy this week. So she won't be able to make it to the show this week. I think I mentioned that yesterday, but she'll be back with us next week. She's got a lot going on, so she's taking a few days to herself, which is totally fine. But I'm sure she'll be back. She misses you guys always, so I'm sure she will let you know that just as much as anybody. Now, of course, we usually kick the show off with the news. We're going to flip things a little bit today. We're going to actually kick things off with the quick hits, and then we're going to talk about DC, and then we're going to do the news so that you guys can get all the good stuff that much faster. So let's do that now. And the first thing we got to talk about in the quick hits, John, is John Wick 5. I mentioned earlier that we were going to discuss this, so let's dive right into it. This is something that Chad Stahelski kind of put out there for the world, and what he was basically saying is that, hey, where we left off at the end of chapter 4, it's not an obvious place to start the next movie, which is understandable if you've seen John Wick 4 and how things end. But that's not a problem for Chad Stahelski, and he's obviously also one of the big producers on the franchise. He said that we're gonna have a new story for Keanu Reeves' character in the upcoming movie, and basically what he said was, and I quote, "The saga of John Wick was pretty wrapped up, so the only way to do a 5 is to have a new story that involves John Wick. It's not a continuation with the high table, because John dealt with his grief. It will be really different, and everybody will see the trailer and go, holy F word, I gotta see that." So John, what are your
Say
thoughts
fuck.
on this?
It's fine. It's past the 2-minute point. We're good. I mean, it's like, then why are you fucking making the movie? Like, outside of money, that is. Because it's like, okay, yeah, he died, quote unquote, and then now it turns out he didn't die, even though the bro went down fucking like 16 flights of stairs, got shot, got this, got that. How this motherfucker is still fucking alive is beyond me. Yeah, honestly, I see are we gonna see John Wick fighting demons in hell? Because that's literally the only way I can fucking see.
Isn't that
this
Constantine
happening.
though? Now we're talking about a different movie.
Yeah, I mean, he almost goes to hell in that movie. He doesn't actually go to hell. I think he almost goes to hell, but I don't know. I haven't seen it, but we're gonna be talking about a different Francis Lawrence movie today, so we'll wait for that. But I can't really see how they're gonna go. I find it to be pointless then, because it's like, oh, maybe like wrapping everything up, tying up all the loose ends, all that shit. Great, awesome, but now it's just like, it's just gonna be like the 4-movie saga and also this extra thing that we have because money, I guess. So cool, sure, but I don't get it.
Yeah, it's, to me, this is an opportunity for them to take the franchise in a different direction, and it seems like that's what they're doing. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Again, it's gonna be fun to see what does John Wick have to do now, right? Because the first 4 movies were literally direct continuations of every single movie that came before it. So how do you take that now and, turn it into, okay, John Wick is apparently not dead, but what motivates him now?
And I was gonna say, like,
maybe,
the prequel of like what he did to be with his wife. But the thing is, we're getting that in an animated movie or show. They already announced that. So like, now what do we do? Anyway, this is supposed to be quick. Let's move on.
Exactly. Well, we actually have a comment from Steven asking about, hey, are you guys going to talk about the new writers that they have just found for the Beatles movies, all 4 Beatles movies, that is. And so I went ahead and found that exact story because I had not put it in the show rundown, Steven, but we'll talk about it. So let's bring that into the quicket, shall we? So it looks like Jack Thorne, Jez Butterworth, and Peter Strahan are going to be writing the Beatles movies, the 4-part cinematic event for Sam Mendes and Sony. So they brought in 3 writers here, John. What are
I
your
know
thoughts on
Jez
these guys?
Butterworth. He co-wrote Edge of Tomorrow with I think it's his brother. He's written some good stuff. I don't know Jack Thorne or Peter Strahan. I don't believe I know those names, but I know Jez Butterworth has done some good stuff in the past. I mean, he did like The Agency, which I heard good things about, and a couple other things. But yeah, he's done some good stuff. I mean, he wrote Ford versus Ferrari and Edge of Tomorrow, probably being also that Mobland miniseries. So that's cool. I'm not trying to shit Jack Thorne or the other guy, Peter Strahan, but like, I don't know their stuff, so sorry. But this is cool. This is great.
Sorry, I personally haven't seen a lot of their work. Sorry, I was muted there for a second, but I'll trust that Sam Mendes has brought in the best people for the job, and Sony, of course, it's pouring a lot of money into this whole project. Like, when you're making 4 movies that are connecting together and come out in the same year, basically the same time, you want to make sure that you bring in people who are going to make you money, not people who are going to generate trash. So I trust them with that. But hey, thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Okay, so sorry, I did look it up. Peter Strahan, quite literally just won an Oscar. He wrote Conclave, so That's really good. And,
that is good.
And he also wrote Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy and Frank. I love Conclave. I saw Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. It's still the most boring movie I've ever seen in my life. And then Frank, I think I watched the first 20 minutes and I'm like, this is fucking stupid, so I turned it off. But Conclave is great and very Oscar worthy. So I'll go with that. Jack Thorne, I think he wrote like he wrote stuff. The only thing that I see, he did write his Dark Materials. I watched the first season. That was good. Didn't bother watching the other two. It just kind of fell off. And then he also wrote Enola Holmes 2. So very different writers. You got an Oscar winner. You got a guy who's written great dramas and action. And then the dude who wrote the fucking shitty Enola Holmes movie. So like very different arc of quality there. So we'll see.
Yeah,
I'm still stoked because there have been good evidence from all three of these writers about certain things. So we'll see how them coming together will make this work. So I'm curious. This is still a really intriguing thing that has got me. You have my curiosity, not my attention just yet, but you have my curiosity.
Yeah. And look, it's gonna be one of those situations where, like I said, they're probably not making these choices willy-nilly, right? You'd want to make sure you have people who are gonna do a good job because of how much of an investment this whole project is. Main Man fan saying the Alec Guinness, Tinker, and Smiley's people are a lot better, and Patrick Stewart has a cameo in it with Alec. There you go. Main Man fan also earlier was saying happy hump day to you, Main Man fan. And Monique was saying Enola Holmes was pretty cute. Well, yeah, I mean there's two of them actually, right? And they're working on a third one, so that whole franchise for Netflix is doing fine, or good for them at least. And then Main Man fan is saying those movies that he was pointing out are available on YouTube for free, so you can go check those out later, not now. But Jose is in the chat as well, and Jalen joining in. So hello, and how are you guys doing today? Let us know in the live chat. We are, of course, if you guys dropped in late, we haven't skipped the news. Actually, we were gonna do the news toward the end of the show. We started with quick hits. We're gonna get into DC after that, and then we'll dive into the news. So we're sort of changing up the order of events today so we can get to the good stuff a little bit faster. But with that in mind, you were talking about Conclave, John, the writer of Conclave. Well, it looks like Conclave, because the papal conclave to pick the new pope has begun. So I'm sure you've seen news headlines all about that, and it looks like the cardinals themselves are watching the movie Conclave for guidance on the actual conclave, because it's a pretty good primer, a useful primer for clerics that, you know, who are taking part in the real thing to choose the next pope. Are you surprised by this? The fact that that movie is so good and so accurate that the guys who are actually voting now, like as we speak, are watching Conclave the movie? I mean, Liz at one point was like, yeah, that movie should win like a few of the big awards. I mean, at the Oscars, it didn't happen. It went to Anora, which couldn't be more different from that Conclave movie. But what are your thoughts on, again, just we keep talking about it, the interest in that movie has gone up for obvious reasons, and it seems like even the Cardinals themselves who are voting for the next pope are watching it.
I think that's fucking hilarious. And you know what? They know good cinema apparently. So yeah, I think that's great. Funny, but also, you know, whatever works.
Yeah. Yeah, Main Man fan is like, that is crazy. You know what? That is crazy. It's pretty wild. But it also speaks to the quality of the movie, right? It's the fact that it's accurate. It is dramatized because obviously it's a movie, but nonetheless. By the way, if you guys are here and watching and you haven't yet, like Main Man fan is telling you to do, frag that like button, because we'll be talking about Peacemaker a little bit later. Hosea was saying, I keep having dreams that I wake up and watch a new Superman trailer. It's so vivid. What's wrong with me, Dan? What's wrong with me, John? Well, Hosea.
Well, how much time you got?
And we will leave it there. Let's move on to the next quick hit, shall we? We got a bunch more to get into. GTA 6, of course, put out a new trailer yesterday. We talked about it. We broke it down. Now we have some high-res portraits of all the main cast members that will help bring Vice City and the rest of Leonida to life. So, John, I just wanted to kind of quickly browse through these list of characters.
Yep.
You've got Jason Duval.
Who,
all right.
I don't know if just when I was listening to the trailer, I don't know if it's him or not. It sounded exactly like Sam Worthington. I don't know if
it did. No, I thought it did too. Yeah.
I thought it was Sam Worthington, but I don't know. So we'll see. But like, that's curious. I'm just thinking out loud.
You know what? I'm gonna look it up right now.
I don't think they've released the cat list because I think Stephen Root was like rumored to also be in it, and I kind of heard his voice. So, but he hasn't been confirmed. I don't think anybody's been officially confirmed yet. But
yeah, it looks like that's what I'm seeing. It's not confirmed. People are just kind of guessing at it. But anyway, moving on to the next thing. So we have Jason Duell, of course. You have Lucia Camino. So those are the two main characters, the couple that we see in the trailer. Then you have Brian Heater in there as well. You have Booby Ike. Some of these, shots are really, really photoreal. Like in terms of just, you look at them and you're like, okay. I mean, in a couple of these, you can tell it's a video game. A Cal Hampton there, but then in a couple of the shots, you're like, oh, okay, looks pretty realistic. Raul Batista, of course. Draquan Priest. This shot looks pretty real to me. I'm like, if I just looked at it in a blink and then was asked, was this CGI? I'd be like, nope, does not look like CGI at all. So the quality of the graphics has certainly gone up a notch. Then you have Riel Dimez. So a bunch of characters. Again, like you said, John, we don't really have confirmation on the names of the actors who are voicing these roles, but we do have Marco confirmed to be in the chat. Hello, Marco. How are you doing today? Saying, sorry, no new Pope today. Yeah, well, maybe the Cardinals have bought themselves another evening to watch the Conclave movie and then vote again tomorrow. We also have Tony in the chat. Tony, we haven't seen you in the live chat in a long time, so how are you doing? We also have YArc9 in the chat as well, saying Peacemaker teaser looks so cool, and we will talk about that. We will get into that in a little bit, so do stick around. Oh, okay, it's Ike as in Pike. Okay, thank you, Jose, for correcting me on that. Booby Ike, quite the name. Well, these are the characters. As soon as we have more of an idea of who the voice actors are, we will talk about it. But like you said, John, the voices did sound familiar, especially Jason Duell. That character's voice sounded very familiar, so I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Well, Stephen Root is the guy you're talking about, Jose. The Stapler guy that's Stephen Root that was his role in Office Space.
Yeah. Well, box office at the Broadway box office is breaking records. Good night and good luck. That's the new George Clooney play on Broadway. It's broken records as the first play to surpass $4 million, and it's also, of course, got 5 Tony nominations recently. John, are you surprised by this? Clooney's spending a lot of time on Broadway right now, and if there was any play that was going to break records, I guess it's the one with George Clooney.
This one or Glenn Ross? So,
well, there's also Othello with like Jake Gyllenhaal and Denzel Washington, so like it's a good time to be on Broadway, or if you are a fan of Broadway. So I thought it was really interesting. I'm sure those of you guys who are fans of theater will appreciate that. But if you're a fan of the movies, like a lot of us are, then Golden Globes, they're expanding the award show and now have added on a best podcast category for the 2026 ceremony. John, you don't seem impressed. Care to?
No, I just love how like the Academy's like, oh, we're finally, getting casting and stunts finally being rewarded, like after all this time. Like say what you will about the Oscars, bullshit or not bullshit, most definitely bullshit, but like, okay, finally it's like 100 years too late, but they finally fucking are adding a stunt category, and they're adding a casting, like, or ensemble or whatever it was that the other one they were adding.
But one of them is going to be on like the
and then meanwhile you have the
awards,
fucking Golden Globes that are adding a podcast category. It's like, really? Are you that fucking inept? Like, you got, we're like, how do you do, fellow kids? We also have the podcasts. So it's like, it's stupid.
Look, you can look at this and say this is an acknowledgement that podcasting is a bigger part of the entertainment industry than it ever has. You can also look at it as the Golden Globes, like, lurching for more relevance in a way that feels a little, moving a little out there and moving away from the core of the award shows, which is celebrating movies and TV shows. But yeah, I mean, podcasts are a bigger part of the ecosystem that we live in and consume every day. I mean, you guys are here watching us. Like, technically, this is kind of like a podcast. So there you go. I mean, maybe we could one day get nominated. We'll have to make that happen. We'll think of, we'll work on it. But in the meantime, maybe we can ask Seth Rogen for some help, because he's a studio chief in the new TV show, The Studio, on Apple TV Plus, and it's already gotten a renewal for season 2.
Cool.
I've been watching this show, and this is crazy. This is like the one way to describe some of the episodes. It's kind of like The Office and Parks and Rec with like an Apple budget, and it just is. And you know, obviously, the
Was it made
context
by
of it-
Michael Schur? Because like,
yeah.
Was
I mean,
it? Because I mean,
is
those are
ama-
literally both of his shows. Like,
Yeah,
well, one of them
exactly.
is like he worked on, and the other he made. So it's like, was it?
I don't think this is a Michael Schur production, but it's got you know
It
Rogan
certainly
and
feels like
Evan Goldberg, who are both producing it. Seth Rogen, of course, stars in the show as well. It's already got a season 2 renewal. It's at Lionsgate Television. They're the ones who make the show, and the season finale is set to air on May 21st. So we are still a couple of weeks away from this season coming to a close. But Apple TV Plus already, you know, just pulling the trigger on a second season because. Honestly, this show has been just so amazing. It's a critic's darling. Everybody loves it. All the critics that have seen it and rated it and given reviews for it. People who watch it can't speak highly enough of it. I am one of those people, so I'm really excited about it. You guys let us know if you are watching the show, because this thing looks great. It looks amazing. If you haven't seen it yet, then go check it out. If you don't have Apple TV Plus, get it, because then you can also watch Ted Lasso when it comes back for season 4. We also have Enterprising now in the chat saying podcasts. They're gonna be in the Golden Globes next year, so be on the lookout for that. Now, moving on to the next story, John. We also have to talk about a couple of things. Things that have been greenlit, dated, or canceled or renewed, which includes, while of course the studio is getting renewed for season 2, after season 4, Acapulco will have come to an end. The Hot Pink Resort show is heading to.
I don't know what the fuck this is. I've literally never heard of it before. This looks like Barbie, and I don't care.
It does. It kind of is that. I think this is actually like a Spanish language like show. If I read this correctly earlier. I mean, obviously running for 4 seasons is a pretty big achievement for most shows these days. And they're gonna be getting a 4th season, but it looks like that will be the final season for the show. If you guys watch the show, let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Are you looking forward to the 4th season, and are you bummed that will be the last one? But the 4th season debuts on July 23rd, so if you are a fan, then there you go. You at least have a few more episodes to go. Shaun of the Sheep, The Beast of Mossy Bottom, a new movie in the works at Aardman, John. They are expecting this to be another hit, saying expect Smash Pumpkins, Wayward Science, and a wild hairy beast in the 3rd Halloween-themed Shaun feature, with Studio Canal launching sales at the Cannes Film Festival, and Sky is distributing it in the UK. Your thoughts on another Shaun the Sheep movie coming out soon?
I think this is really awesome. I don't think I saw the second one. I didn't even know that. I think I was aware that there was a second one. I saw the first one. It was okay. But considering Vengeance Most Foul was a lot of fun, maybe I'll probably give this a watch. I do like I remember watching the shorts that were like in between shows back on, I don't know if it was Cartoon Network, Disney, or Nickelodeon, but it was one of those where it was like they played in between shows, and that was a lot of fun. I really liked those shorts. A lot of I mean, Aardman is, British institution, fucking amazing in every sense of the word, and you know what, I'll definitely give it a watch.
Yeah, I'm excited about it as well. Of course, Tony Robinson in the chat was saying the upfronts might be coming up, or must be coming up. That's why all these shows are getting cut or canceled or being renewed, and that is true. That I think they're either coming up or they recently happened, but we're definitely in that season. So I'm sure we'll talk about it when that time comes. But hey, you know what? In other movie news, 10 Things I Hate About You director says he's following up with a sequel soon. It's in development right now. Gil Junger, the film's director, hopes to make the story into a trilogy, saying that he would love to work with Julia Stiles again. Of course, you've got
there's
Julia
a big
Stiles,
fucking problem with that.
but
Literally, the other star has been dead for almost 20 years, so I don't know how you're gonna make that work. I don't know if you're gonna recast him. I don't know if you're just gonna have her just be like a fucking parade of dudes she fucks. I don't know what it would be about, but sure, go for it.
Well, it's not the only idea. They also they have potentially the director suggesting they could do I Things I Hate About Dating, 10 Things I Hate About Marriage, 10 Things I Hate About Kids. Like, there's ideas. They're throwing things around and seeing maybe what sticks and what doesn't. But they're developing it right now. So who knows? Who knows where we're going to go? Of course, like you said, Heath Ledger has passed away. So they'll have to either recast the role or, I don't know, go in a different direction. But and Julia Stiles, is not like a huge star today either. But, I'm sure she'll be happy to, if available, come on board. Practical Magic 2, which did have, or the first one had Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman. Well, it looks like the sequel is coming out in fall 2026. It's a follow-up to the original. That was wow, it hit theaters in 1998, John. So what is that, like 28 years later? A sequel coming out?
I don't know what this is. I've never heard of this before.
Both
is
Sandra
it like
Bullock and Nicole
witches?
Kidman are
Is
coming
it
back
like
for the sequel.
about witches or something? Practical magic? Is that what it is? I don't know.
I, for one, will just kind of refer you to the article. It says Tooth of Wolf and Morning Dew, something old and something new. Kidman says in the voiceover in the film's social media post, "Let the spell begin to mix." September 18, 2026. So yes, a little spell binding, as it were.
Okay.
By the way, we do have JB in the chat now saying Practical Magic is another film set in Washington State, just like 10 Things I Hate About You. Yes, sir, you are right about both of those things. And Enterprising thing, Joseph Gordon-Levitt will probably star in that 10 Things sequel. So yeah, that could work. I can kind of see him stepping in for Heath Ledger, but that could potentially work. But hello, JB in the chat, Enterprising here as well. Of course, Marco in the chat. Thank you guys. Keep engaged there. We do appreciate the comments. Hugh Laurie, John, is set to lead a new Apple TV Plus thriller called The Wanted Man alongside Thandie Newton and Fionn Whitehead. Is this one that interests you? Of course. House coming to Apple TV Plus?
Maybe.
Look, Apple TV Plus's record is so good. I'm like, you know what? If you've got Hugh Laurie involved, and Thandie Newton, like who was in Westworld, of course, you've got a lot of talent right there. So I'm all for it. Let's just see what the trailers look like when it does get to that point. But in the meantime, John, Wings of Fire animated series is now set at Amazon with Aaron Waltke as the showrunner. Is this something that interests you, or have you heard about this one before? This is an animated series. Variety has learned exclusively that not only has Aaron Waltke boarded the show as showrunner, executive producer, and co-writer, Tui T. Sutherland, who wrote the original books, which the series is based on, will also co-write and executive produce. This looks interesting. I don't know if you're a fan of the franchise, but this was developing. It's been in development for a long time, and yeah, a previous version was scrapped at Netflix. Now it's at Amazon, so looks interesting.
Yeah, could be cool.
Could be cool. Moving on to the next thing, Aaron Paul to lead a psychological thriller, The Midnight Pool, for V for Vendetta director James McTeague. What are your thoughts on this one? Interesting?
I'd watch it.
I'd watch it too. Aaron Paul, a V for Vendetta director, combining for a new project. I'd watch it. And speaking of exciting combinations, you were mentioning Mike Schur earlier. Well, he is getting back in the comedy game with, of course, Amy Poehler, who led the Parks and Recreation show, and they are teaming up for a new show over at Peacock called Dig. That looks fun. I'm excited about it. It's based on the Kate Myers novel Excavations. Poehler and Schur are co-writing the first episode, with Poehler also set to star. The official logline says 4 women working at an archaeological dig in Greece are at wildly different crossroads in their lives when the team uncovers our long buried secret with the potential to rewrite history. They find themselves at the center of a high stakes international conspiracy.
Sounds like the most generic plot imaginable, so I think I'll probably skip.
That's kind of like
one.
what all log lines feel like. I mean, but anyway, you know what? Amy Poehler and Mike Schur, like, okay, the track record is good, so I'll give it a shot. Like, maybe it'll be terrible, but who knows? I'm excited for it. But anyway, we'll have to just keep our eye out for it. Peacock obviously has a lot of good comedy on it already. But hey, now we're moving on to the trailers part of the show, John. Ethan Coen and Trisha Cook have a new movie that they're cooking up called Honey Don't. The trailer is out, starring Margaret Qualley, Aubrey Plaza, you see right there, Charlie Day, Billy Eichner, and Chris Evans are also in the movie.
It's Billy Eichner.
Eichner. Sorry, I messed that up. I didn't like him in Parks and Rec. But anyway, August 22nd, that's when it comes out. The world premiere will be at the Cannes Film Festival, John. This is from Focus Features. What did you think about the trailer? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or did you think it was mid?
I mean, I feel like Chris Evans, outside of Captain America, just plays the same role in every movie. Just the weird, wily guy who's kind of an asshole. I mean, that's who he was as Johnny Storm. That's who he was in Knives Out. That's who he is in this, which, you know, is kind of cool, I guess. But I mean, I like Chris Evans, but I feel like it's a little bit samey. But considering, I don't know if we could show that here, but sure. But considering I did not like Ethan Coen's last solo effort with Drive Away Dolls, I felt it was very dumb and not funny and just lazy. So, I mean, I hope this is better. I mean, Margaret Qualley isn't doing a fucking ear-gratingly annoying Southern accent, so there's that as well. I understand, because I know all the people from the South are like, it's accurate. Okay, cool. It's an accurate accent. Doesn't mean I don't want to fucking shove scissors in my ears every time she speaks, okay? Just saying. But with that, I mean, it's got a really good cast. It has like a good like murder mystery, conspiracy type shit, like, you know, a typical plot. But you know what? I'd rather take typical than whatever the fuck Drive Away Dolls was. So hopefully it's better. I'm intrigued with it. I don't know if I'll watch it like in a theater, but I'll probably watch it like when it hits streaming. Because it's definitely an intriguing idea, but like after Drive Away Dolls, I'm like, bro, just stick with your brother at this point, because it's like, oh, the director of Fargo and No Country for Old Men. Yeah, when you were with your brother, because clearly you need to be together to make good stuff, because then you're gonna get not great stuff. So I'll see it, but
I mean, aren't Trisha Cook and Ethan Coen like married? Like, so this is kind of like their collaboration.
Yeah,
and
it's a very weird marriage. Like, I'm not gonna judge, but they can do them.
Fair enough. Well, the next thing that we got to talk about is another trailer, the Ritual,
Yes.
starring Al Pacino and Dan Stevens as they look to perform an exorcism in the trailer, John. Ashley Greene and Patricia Heaton are also set to star in David Midell's feature that hits theaters next month. I kind of found this to be a little funny because it's like, obviously they have differing methods. I don't know if it was meant to be funny, but it kind of got me to laugh a little bit, because in the trailer you have Al Pacino saying, "We are the Lord's army in this battle. She is touched by something otherworldly." And then later on, Dan Stevens asking, what if she really, what if what she really needs is a doctor? Like, and then, you know, Pacino's like, "We are paying a price for your lack of faith." It's, I don't know. Like, I was like, it's kind of ridiculous, but like, anyway, like, what are your thoughts on this trailer, John?
I would say like I'm super excited for it, but I'd go see it. I mean, it's got fucking Al Pacino, Dan Stevens, the guy who played Hamlin in Better Call Saul, Patrick something.
Somebody let us know in the chat, because
and then you got Ashley Greene, got Patricia Heaton, Abigail Cohen, all of them.
You're talking about Richie Montgomery? Is that the name? I think.
No, it's Patrick something.
Patrick something. Okay, well.
But yeah, all of them are really good actors of varying degrees, and I like how it's kind of like a documentary kind of style. I mean, that's what like The Exorcist, like the original Exorcist, felt like. It felt like a like, not necessarily in a cinematography point of view like this one is, but in more of like how it like structures its story and like its overall tone. And it was very like him. That's Patrick Fabian. That was his name. Patrick Fabian. I mean, he was great in Better Call Saul, and he's been in a lot of other stuff since, and he's a good actor. But I think it could be interesting. It's not. Apparently, the people are already calling out the marketing for this movie, because they're like, "This is what inspired The Exorcist," and they're like, "No, it wasn't. That was based on a completely different case, not this one. So you're fucking lying." So there's that little bit of controversy. I don't know if it's really controversy, but a lot of people are saying like that was based on a 1935 case with a young boy, while this is based on a 1928 case with obviously a young woman. So it's not, that part isn't correct, but like I'll still see it. I love the cast too much, and I think we could get something really interesting with this. I know the last like 10 exorcism movies have kind of sucked, but once in a while you get a really good one. So I think that hopefully this one is the once in a while we get a good one movie.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to wait and find out. Not too long from now, though. It's a month away. But Stephen King's The Long Walk also dropped a trailer. It comes to life with Mark Hamill in the lead. Cooper Hoffman and David Johnson also set to star, with director Francis Lawrence behind the camera. David Johnson, we mentioned, was one of the stars attached to that Sergeant Rock movie that's on hold right now for DC. But yeah, this is a dystopian feature that hits theaters later this year. It comes to us from Lionsgate. John, you saw the trailer. It is a Stephen King story. What are your thoughts on this Francis Lawrence Stephen King? September 12th, it comes out in the movie theaters. What did you think about the trailer? It also has Judy Greer and Roman Griffin Davis in there as well. Ben Wang. Ben Wang, isn't he in the new Karate Kid movie? He's the lead, right?
And then Roman Griffin Davis was Jojo Rabbit.
Perfect.
So I watched this. I was like, this has been in development hell for at least 15 years, probably more. Frank Darabont was really trying to direct this one, and he probably would have made like another amazing movie, because Frank Darabont's a great director that somehow fucking can't get work because people are dumb. So, you know, bro created arguably the greatest movie of all time, and he can't get work. Go figure. So he's been trying to do that, but even then, even despite this, Francis Lawrence is a very good director. He's directed a lot of great stuff, and it makes sense that the movie that essentially was, you know, like one of the many Hunger Game-esque movies before the Hunger Games. All right, get the guy who directed Hunger Games onto this one, the last 5 movies in this franchise, or well, 5 if we include Sunrise on the Reaping. But so I'm really I mean, this is the year, again, another big year for Bachman, because we're getting The Running Man as well from Edgar Wright later this year. Although we are getting Stephen King, which was a Stephen King story not under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. We are getting Life of Chuck, which also has Mark Hamill in it, in June, from Mike Flanagan. So I'm very excited. I'm extremely excited for this. It looks like it's getting the brutality of the book. I have not read the book, but I do in fact own the book. I heard this was a great read, so this was back in college. I bought a bunch of Stephen King books because I really wanted to read Stephen King. I only got through Carrie, not because like the books were bad. It's just like I've become like such a terrible reader nowadays. Like I still have Salem's Lot here that I need to read, because it was like I'm gonna read this for the fucking movie coming out. Look how that turned out. I was gonna read The Shining for when Dr. Sleep came out. That failed. So hopefully I can actually get through this one, because I do want to read more of his work. So I have this one, and then I also have the collection of the Bachman books. This has Long Walk in it, but it also has Roadwork, The Running Man, which is coming out later this year, as I mentioned, and then Rage, which is the reason why I got the Bachman books, is because that is an out-of-print book, because it involves a school shooting, so Stephen King wasn't comfortable in having that still be a book, so he let that go out of print. But I was still curious about it. My friend read it. He said it wasn't very good, but I'm still kind of curious about it. But I am really excited for The Long Walk. Maybe I'll actually finally start reading this and, you know, be prepared. Although I do know the ending. I did get the ending spoiled for me. And I hope
maybe they'll change it up.
I fucking hope they keep the ending, because the ending is fucked. It is a fucked up ending, and I hope they don't like sanitize or Hollywoodize it. I hope they go for the fucked up ending. And honestly, with Francis Lawrence, I have a feeling they will. But, you know, sometimes studio shit can get in the way, but I do hope they get that really fucked up ending that I love. So, well, you know, I'm excited.
The Long Walk,
definitely.
September 12th comes out later this year. But also, what's coming out a little bit sooner, John, is that Josh Hartnett movie, Fight or Flight. And they put a new clip of this out, because I think this was this is a movie that a bunch of people have seen this week. It was like a secret or like a surprise screening movie. So you go in blind, and then I think AMC and Regal, you get to see the movie, and it's not necessarily like something that you knew you were gonna watch. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you saw this, then it would be a pleasant surprise. It looks like basically Bullet Train, but on a plane, which I think is how
it's like Bullet Train meets Nobody meets John Wick. It's like that type. It's that type of action movie that's very popular now. Which
the action comedy and stuff.
I don't give a fuck. Josh Hartnett's great, and I actually like Trap, so that's just me. But this looks like a lot of fun.
I'm excited for this. He kind of looks like almost like Captain Kirk from one of the early OG Star Trek seasons here. But anyway, moving on to the next thing. We have some new behind-the-scenes photos of Tom Cruise, for the underwater sequence. They put that clip out that we talked about yesterday. You see Christopher McQuarrie there, the director. I don't know. I guess Tom Cruise still... I bet you he still does it for a lot of people out there. And the physique is, for his age, is in peak shape. And they shot a lot of this sequence entirely underwater. You can see that there. I don't know if they were doing actual filming or these are rehearsals or whatever, but damn, like he had to hold his breath underwater. This is not the first time he's had to do that though, right?
Had to do that for Ghost Protocol too.
For Ghost Protocol, so he's familiar with the concept. I'm sure James Cameron might bring him in, like, you know what? Why don't you come on over to Avatar? In the 5th movie, we're going back to the water. So, it looks great.
Avatar 5, back to the water. This time it's personal.
This time it's personal, exactly. Jalen's like, this is the Tom Brady of Hollywood. Yeah, I mean, Tom Cruise, I guess, gets close to that.
Fucking Tom Brady wishes he was Tom Cruise.
Main Man Fan is like, seriously? And Marco is like, is that really necessary? Is that really? But Jalen, I agree with you. Tom Cruise in Avatar would go so hard. I'm you know what? James Cameron, please just steal this idea and just run with it. Just run with it. But in the meantime, John, we do have some Rotten Tomatoes scores. We got to discuss all the scores from the MCU movies that have come out since Avengers Endgame. What are your thoughts on just the overall, I guess, batting average for the MCU since Endgame?
Fucking Thor. I'll tell you this, Thor Love and Thunder should be fucking in the negatives. I will tell you that. But like, I don't really care.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, you look at the variance, you literally have the lowest number is 46, the highest is 93. That's like, the double, basically. 46 times 2 is 92. So the variance is incredible. I think the
variance.
Well, the first 3 MCU phases I thought were a little more consistent, at least in the Rotten Tomatoes score front. Because you got the new Avengers sitting there at 88, but the movie that came out before it, what was the one before? Deadpool and Wolverine, 78%.
No, it was Captain America. Remember
Captain America 4,
that came out. Yeah, 48%. No, everyone already
I forgot about that. I forgot about it. There's a 40% difference between Thunderbolts or the new Avengers and Captain America 4. And then Deadpool, Wolverine somewhere in the middle. I still can't believe Black Widow has a 79. I have no idea. It's not that good. And Wakanda Forever also probably a little too high for me at 84. But yeah, Eternals was terrible. Quantumania was forgettable. The Marvels, I love the characters. Not a good movie. Thor: Love and Thunder, 63% I think is deserved. But the ones at the top, you've got 2 Spider-Man movies. I thought Far From Home.
I'm shocked that Deadpool and Wolverine is like lower. But I mean, maybe these are probably the critics' scores. That's probably why.
These are the critics' scores.
I would imagine that the
audience scores are high.
Popcorn meter is like fucking in the 90s for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh yeah, like it's much higher.
And they're fucking nostalgia bait fest.
Much higher. I mean, Shang-Chi I think deservedly is near the top in 92%. That's a pretty good score. But hey, you know what? Ironheart is a new TV show that's coming out pretty much in a few weeks' time.
People are forgetting that, but yeah.
I mean, people were saying Marvel and Disney are forgetting it. Well, it's got a release date, June 24th. It comes out on Disney Plus. To pass it on, as it says there in the post. Not only that, but we also, got a new look from the show. And RDJ, apparently, Robert Downey Jr. himself, messaged Dominique Thorne, who's going to be playing the lead role, saying, hey, go for it. Give her a 2 thumbs up. And I appreciate that, RDJ is there to support her. We've got that new image that they dropped on Empire. So you get another look at the character. Very Iron Man-ish, which is like, the intention here. So. Marco was saying, how is Thor not in last? I imagine Love and Thunder. You were talking about the Rotten Tomatoes ratings. Jalen saying Love and Thunder with 63 is a crime. I agree with you.
I love how the quick hits is at 46 minutes.
I don't know, man. It is that kind of a day, so we'll just keep going. We'll just roll with the punches. But anyway, next thing. So Dominic Thorne, as I mentioned, got a endorsement, I guess you could say, from RDJ. She said that he told me how excited he was and that he's rooting for it too. I literally got 2 thumbs up. It's really reassuring to know how you know that you're not embarrassing Iron Man, which I think that's a good thing, matter of appreciation, because Iron Man is practically the MCU. So if he's like, you know what, you've got my vote of approval, then I think that's a good thing. It can only be a good thing. Speaking of good things, I thought Red Hulk was a pretty good part of what was an otherwise underwhelming Captain America 4, at least for the moment, the very brief scene that we got, minus how the fight ends. But apparently Red Hulk was not in consideration ever to be a part of the Thunderbolts, despite the fact that in the comics the name Thunderbolts is associated with, of course, the Red Hulk character. If so it's a little weird that this is the direction they went in. So I guess that's kind of further reinforces the fact that they were gonna always try to change that name of the movie to be the New Avengers. So like, cool, fair enough, interesting. And then of course Anthony Mackie sharing a video from the set of Avengers Doomsday saying, wherever you are, I hope it's a warm, beautiful, sunny day, because it sure ain't that wherever they're filming. So I do wonder where they are, John. Do you care to speculate? Is he in the Arctic Circle somewhere? I mean, they were shooting in the UK recently, so I don't know. Seems interesting. He's by the water somewhere. You can see it's half frozen over. So anywho, he was in an episode of The Studio, by the way. Great episode. Quick question, John. Who would win, the New Avengers or the New Avengers?
Wow, gee, the one with a literal god on it and the guy who's connected to gods versus guys who punch and shoot. Yeah, gee, fucking Thor and Shang-Chi can total everyone here. Like, that's not even a fucking argument. Are you kidding me? No, you have Sentry, but come on. The bitch boy is gonna be crying in a corner because he has fucking, like, the void is gonna take over, man. He's gonna be crying in a corner somewhere while Thor just wrecks him. Like, come on now. This ain't even a fucking argument. Get the hell out of here.
How old is Thor? Is he like, what, 1,500 years old or something?
He's like thousands of years old. Like, come on. Get the fuck out of here.
I mean, you know what?
Who would win in a fight? Fucking Ant-Man or like the Beyonder? It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, I will just say this. The only guy in this fight it's kind of like, Dodgeball, where the movie, and like, Vince Vaughn is going to be basically holding it down for the whole damn team, and that's going to be Sentry until,
but you also, it's not like just that. You also have, you do have Black Panther, which, she is super powered, and you have Ant-Man, who has, a powered suit. So, I know that. Well, yeah, I've already said, like, Shang-Chi is like literally connected to, like, I saw the fucking dragons and shit like that. I mean, literally has mystical shit behind it.
Ghost has some power. She can kind of phase through things. So that's
God, she can phase through shit. Meanwhile, like, just Mjolnir just fucking bashes her face in. Like, you have like 3 diet Captain Americas, a chick who can shoot, and another chick who can fucking Kitty Pryde who can fucking phase through walls. Get out of here! Come on, like. You have like Thunderbolts at 100% power, and it's like Thunderbolts at 99% power is just Sentry. It's like not even a fucking argument. And again, versus literal gods. Come on now. Get out of here. Get out of here.
I like how Marco is like, Sentry is the MVP. Yeah, pretty much, far and away. Hosea skipped Quantumania, Wakanda Forever, and the Marvels. All right, Hosea. Hello, Jose, by the way. By the way, I would just love to see these two teams walk up to each other in like a Civil War-esque sort of a thing, and he's like, "What are you guys? Are you guys the Avengers?" He's like, "Ah," and then Red Guardian's like, "Ah, fancy." It's like, we're the Avengers with the Z. I just love to see the interaction. That's what I'm there for. And a super soldier can go pretty far. Of course, Captain America proved us. At least, he could take on Iron Man and so on and so forth. But, we talked about the other day how Coleman Domingo was potentially being courted by Marvel at the Met Gala, the way he was dressed, John, before he takes that off and he's got like the suit underneath it, he looked a little bit almost like a version of Kang. Do you think he could be a good
I think
Kang?
you're looking in places in things that aren't there, Daniel. So
That's fair enough. You know what? We'll just leave that there. But hey, this is there. This is real. There's new Fantastic Four artwork. This is official. So each of the characters kind of get a little bit of their own looks. It looks hand drawn or painted, I suppose. You got all
Very
5 of the main
cool.
characters. Any thoughts on this? Again,
They're
not much
looking
to go
up.
off. They are
I'm
looking
just
up.
saying, they're looking
That is
up.
actually very true. They're all looking up. So, speaking of which, yeah, we'll be talking about DC in a little bit. But Vincent D'Onofrio is looking up to the idea of maybe being in an MCU film in the future. Right now, this is a Sony rights issue because he's technically a Spider-Man character in the movies. So he's saying, I'd love for them to figure the right things out with Sony. I think that will eventually happen. I don't know when or how they're gonna go about it, but I can't imagine that they won't figure out something. We'll see. Will we see? Do you think, Sony will ever let Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin be in a Marvel movie? Or is he gonna be relegated to the TV shows forever?
I mean, I hope that the latter is not the case. Because, Kingpin is just such a grand character, and I feel like he deserves more than just TV. Like the only time we've gotten him on the big screen is Michael Clark Duncan in the Daredevil 2003 movie. So, I would love to see him in a proper big screen role because he's a big grandiose kind of villain. He can work both ways, yes, but he's bigger than just the street guy. So I would love to see that. I don't know if they can because Sony is an asshole with rights. So we'll see, but I would love to see it. I hope they can figure it out, but I don't see it happening in the near future.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think for the time being, he's gonna stick to probably Daredevil, which is fair enough. Sony would want all the money, like Marco is saying. And Jose had skipped Daredevil Born Again. Okay, all right. Well, Jose, if you want to, you can go back to it because they are doing a season 2. So there's plenty of episodes coming up. But we have a few Business of Hollywood things to go through before we finish up the quickest, and I'm just going to roll through them real quick. Comcast, if you remember, they were spinning off a lot of their television networks into a new company. That company has a name now, Versant, and that's where USA Network, MSNBC, CNBC-E, as well as some digital brands, including Fandango and Rotten Tomatoes, will all live now, so that's interesting. Of course, beyond that, NBC is now set to use an AI to recreate the voice of famed NBA narrator Jim Fagan, who is, of course, no longer with us. But as NBC gets the rights back to the NBA, we're still going to have his voice in all the promos that they'll be doing for promoting NBA on NBC, which is interesting. They're also bringing the old theme song back, so that's kind of cool if you're a fan of that from the 90s. But Netflix, John, if you notice, the app has a new UI. They're planning a major overhaul of the homepage design and using OpenAI as part of the search platform now. So I don't know if that's going to make things better or worse, but they're also doing TikTok style vertical feeds. So I guess you might be getting shorts within or TikToks or Net Talks or whatever you want to call them. Netflix shorts within the app itself, which I guess the endless scroll continues. So there's that. And they made an announcement of the new video that they announced online. I saw this on social media. So if you are logging into Netflix and you see something different, this doesn't look right, well, it's on purpose. They're changing it up, simplifying it, making it a little bit easier, or at least they think it's a little bit easier. I'm sure we'll find out soon enough. But the last thing, John, Sophia Carson is set to host Netflix's To Doom live event, which will, of course, feature the cast of Stranger Things, the final season coming out soon. Wednesday with season 2, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, which we saw Oscar Isaac from recently. And, of course, Happy Gilmore 2, which has already dropped the teaser trailer. What are you thinking, or what are you expecting from this To Doom event? Do you think we're gonna get more first looks, more trailers? Stranger Things probably for me is the biggest one because we haven't really seen much from it, whereas Wednesday put out a trailer. Frankenstein, I think we might get a trailer from.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about from the To Doom event that Sophia will be hosting?
I mean, I don't know what this actually is, but I'm excited to get a trailer for Frankenstein. That's pretty much the only thing that intrigues me.
Nice. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. These events are always pretty big. I mean, they've had Dwayne Johnson in there before because he was promoting what was the movie that he did with Ryan Reynolds and Gal Gadot, which was not very good. Um, so yeah, but Man of Time saying hope Dan and John and everyone is better than okay. I think we're doing better than okay, man. We're doing great. I hope you're doing great. And we have a question coming in from Kevin Davis, and that is where we'll wrap the quick hits, John, so we can move on to the DC news part of the show. Kevin was asking, do you think Warner Brothers are going to make some announcements during their investment call tomorrow? I 100% expect them to provide some details and updates. I don't think we'll be getting, like, a big reveal of a trailer or anything like that. But, I think we're going to hear some updates regarding what DC is up to, maybe what David Zaslav thinks about that. And obviously with Peacemaker coming up soon and all the other movies like Final Destinations, the next movie does come out in a couple of weeks time. So that's a big one. I'm sure they'll mention that. With that, guys, let us know in the comments down below which of the quick hits was your favorite. Today's quick hits were pretty long, but hey, you know what? That's how it goes sometimes. But because we did the quick hits early, now we have to talk about DC. So welcome on in to another episode of DCU Daily. As always, we have a ton to talk about from DC Studios, DC on film, DC on TV, DC action figures. We got Superman. We have to talk about Peacemaker. A ton of stuff to get into. John, which of those stories are you most excited about?
All of them, because all of them deserve a chance. I don't know what that means, but yeah, sounds cool.
Yeah, that sounds fun. That sounds like a good thing to say. Everybody deserves a fair shot. Well, Superman deserves a fair shot. It's beginning more than a fair shot, at least in our coverage. We talk about Superman every day. I'm surprised Superman didn't make it to the thumbnail today. It's just rare that happens these days. But Spin Master Toys just putting out a few new action figures from the new Superman movie. And you can see the descriptions for these. This Man of Steel, of course, comes with some ice breath attachments. So that's interesting. You've got the cape.
Even though they're on his arms.
Which is very interesting. I wasn't really sure why. I guess he can move his arm fast enough to generate ice. Maybe. I don't know.
That's not how that works.
I don't know. I'm just saying, if he's high enough in the atmosphere, whatever. Physics. Mr. Terrific, he's got the iconic Fairplay costume on and the T-Sphere accessories, so that looks interesting. Obviously, I guess the T-Spheres are attached to the hand. I don't know, whatever. I'm sure otherwise it will be a choking hazard for kids. Then you have Green Lantern, and he's got those green things on his hands, which makes more sense for Green Lantern than it did for Superman. And then, of course, the Hammer of Baravia. He's got the dual battle axes, John. What are your thoughts on these designs for all four of these characters?
It's definitely they're definitely cool. I mean, I'm not gonna be buying any action figures, not really an action figure man, but hopefully they sell well and hopefully a lot of people like them.
Yeah. Jalen Harris, by the way, saying ice fist, baby. Yeah. Cool. I guess that's the thing now. So there you go. No kid is going to play with Guy Gardner. Yeah. Well, Guy Gardner's probably going to be playing with himself anyway. So say that again. Anyway, moving on to the next thing. We have to talk about a new video that Jim Lee posted, John. This is interesting because this is, I guess, our first look at a new Justice League comic that's coming out this summer as part of the Summer of Superman. And this one focuses on Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong 2. So this is a follow-up to a previous comic in the same storyline. So what are your thoughts on this one? This looks interesting to me, but I mean, if you're a fan of the comics, this will be another one of the many offerings that DC will have for Summer of Superman. You even see Peacemaker in there, Harley Quinn. Is this one that interests you at all?
Could be cool. I don't know if I would read it, or view it. I don't know what the wording would be, but I mean, not really my thing, but I hope people enjoy it.
No, well, we'll just have to wait and see. Super Blink is here now saying his ice hands might only be for the toys. I don't know if you're going to see that in the movie.
Yeah, I don't think it's a movie thing. I think it's just like a cute little toy thing.
Yeah. By the way, it looks like Hosea has read this comic. So he was saying this was dope. Kaiju King Shark versus Godzilla. Bussin', as the kids say. Okay. All right, cool. Well, if you're looking forward to it, then so are we. I'm sure if you have any more updates about it, we'll get into it. You see Godzilla in the trailer. But hey, you know what? Let's talk a little bit more about Rachel Brosnahan's look at the Met Gala. We talked about it the other day. Apparently, the purple wasn't an accident. It was because they had a plan, and Rachel Brosnahan kind of mentioned and kind of talked about it a little bit, saying we talked about the purple being a Lois Lane color. We were about to kick off the summer of Superman, and so what a way to do it. So it was not an accident. And you know what? We were thinking about what the heck is that she's wearing on her neck. The closer you look, it looks like a tie, except she's wearing it like with the tie hanging off her back.
It's like backwards.
Yeah,
Very
it's
weird, but the rest of it looks good, so that's fine.
Hey, you gotta be able to pull that off. So it's not easy. The Met Gala is where this was, Marco, and the Met Gala is sort of just like, I guess it's considered fashion's biggest night. It's basically a really fancy, dinner party, and everybody dresses up to the teeth for it. So, yeah, Rachel Brosnahan was one of the people there. Manos time with all the perfect comments. Jalen, of course, impressed by the look. So yeah, Rachel Brosnahan looking fancy, as Red Guardian would say. Moving on to the next thing, the Flash, of course, is iconic from the TV show version with Grant Gustin. We had one in the movies, not as memorable, but at Comic-Con Liverpool 2025, Grant Gustin himself was asked which actor he'd like to nominate to play the Flash in the new DCU that James Gunn's working on, and he kind of just said, jokingly so, I'm not giving them any good eye casting ideas. So, John, do you think Grant Gustin is truly just joking, or does he still have any level of interest in returning to the role? He's been doing a lot of different things. He's been on Broadway and doing work on stage and finding other projects, diversifying his portfolio. But do you think he'd love to come back as the Flash in the DCU?
Yes, I would like to. But I don't think he's big. I don't think he's a big enough star. I think like now at this point the character has too much baggage with how badly the like latter half of that show became. Like the first like 2 seasons were pretty good. Well, the first season was great. Second season was good up until they revealed who Zoom was, and then it just went downhill from there. Season 3 had some good moments. Season 4 had some good moments, and then it just kind of tanked from there. It just, it just became so bad. So
I thought the same, but I mean, he himself was still great.
But he was always great, which is a shame because he was so fucking. Same with Melissa Benoist. She was wasted as Supergirl. That show again had a really good first season, and then it kind of tanked from there. Season 3 had some really good moments, but none of the other seasons were good. It just became so lazy and so lame that it just
Yeah, I mean, reprising his role as the Flash, Manos, I don't know if that will happen because you don't want to tie that into the Arrowverse. You don't want to canonize that stuff because then obviously it put limits on how you want to do all these other characters that were in the Arrowverse. Could he be a version of the Flash? Could he be a different Flash even in the DCU? Yeah, sure. But like you guys were saying, there's a lot of baggage that comes along with it because all of a sudden you're bringing in an Arrowverse actor, and not saying that in and of itself is a bad thing. Maybe they're gonna wait long enough that it wouldn't matter anyway. Most people will be like, "Oh yeah, that was like a long time ago. This is clearly a different thing." But Grant Gustin was a great Flash, like you said, John. But coming back in the DCU to play a version of the Flash, even if it's not the Barry Allen one, I don't know. Manos time was saying with the CW having their own roles in Justice League, including their own Superman, I don't know if people would be open to his return. The CW has nothing that they want to have to do with DC anymore, so that's certainly out of the picture. But yeah, main man fan saying maybe Dick Grayson, Nightwing, that could work. It could work. I could see that.
I think Grant. You know who Grant Gustin would be perfect as, just from like his demeanor, his look. Although maybe not his look now because he has like the kind of cool long hair beard thing going on, but like especially when like his appearance on Arrow, like I looked at him and I'm like, you would be a perfect Jimmy Olsen. I'm like, just like the overall vibe and all that, and I'm like, perfect Jimmy Olsen. So
yeah,
that's kind of lame because he's not a superhero, but like, because I know people want to cast the superhero part of it, but I just like see that and I'm like, I see Jimmy Olsen. But whatever they decide, I would love to see Grant Gustin come back in a role, but maybe he plays like maybe they give him like a cameo or something. I think I think that would be really awesome to see. But it's I I just really want to see. I just want to see fucking Wally West, man. Like Wally West, he's pretty much all the best stories were from him. Not to say Barry Allen was like bereft of anything, but it's like
Mhm.
for the most part, like all because like you remember like the 90s and the 2000s, that's when Wally West was popular, and those are the people that are mainly going to see those movies. Barry Allen didn't become a thing until much later, until 2009, and now he's like the main guy, even though they're kind of ripping his personality from Wally West, and it's like a whole thing. So
No, I know you mentioned this before. Yeah, but
yeah, I think he's just a tad too young for Jay Garrick at this point. I think that could work as well. I I just want to see Wally West. I want to see a really good actor for Wally West because I think Barry Allen now has just too much baggage. I think I'm kind of sick of him a little bit because I feel like they never really get the character right because they just go to Wally. I mean, the comics do that too because it's just like they just borrow stuff from like Wally's personality and stories and all this stuff. So it's like I want them to give Wally his due. I think that would be it's just like Barry Allen like you have 9 seasons of a show, you have a movie which was not very good, and now like people equate like Flash and Barry Allen with this fucking prick of a human being.
no, well,
And
but this is why they're not
but
doing
even
anything with
then,
the
like it's
character
just like
right
it's too
now.
much.
So
Wally West deserves his time to shine, especially when they're bringing in more legacy people like Jon Stewart and Damian Wayne into it, like much the non OG versions of the character. Like I think that
yeah.
would be, I think that would be awesome. I don't know. I don't think he's big enough to be
Well,
Hal
also
Jordan,
Hal Jordan is cast already.
and he's
Unless
cast.
they're doing like a prequel with a younger version of the character. But I mean, look, he can age up, he can age down for roles. I think Grant Gustin is still very talented, and if they were to bring him in for any role in the DCU, I'm sure it would be well earned for him. So, but until then, yeah, he's certainly not in a rush to give any good ideas out for other people to potentially play Flash, which is fair enough. Keeping the door open for himself. But hey, speaking of keeping the door open, Mr. Terrific is gonna be in the new movie, in the new Superman movie, and so he's getting a new comic book run. Mr. Terrific Year One, the number one of that comic book series, is coming out soon. It launches in stores May 28, 2025. So they gave us a bit of a first look. John, is this a comic that you would be excited for? A Mr. Terrific series?
I might read it. We'll see.
I would be
Give it
interested. I mean, hey,
it's-
we gotta go support these comics, right? Like we love the movies, but you gotta go support the source material because that's where it all comes from. I don't think, to answer your question in the chat, Jalen, I don't think this is connected to the movie.
It isn't. No.
It is sort of complementary in a way, but like it's not going to be something where you're like, oh, this is canon. No, it's not. I don't think it's canon. But it does give you a better idea of who the character is, and then I'm sure that can inform the version of the character we're going to see in Superman as well, in terms of like who he is and maybe like what motivates him and stuff like that. So we can definitely get into it. But yeah, go support this. Like you pick it up on May 28th at a comic book store near you. But with that, John, we now have to move on to our main story, which is of course Peacemaker. John, today the new Peacemaker teaser to the teaser. Actually, this wasn't even today, it was last night. If you've been watching NBA basketball, then you will know they did a whole thing where essentially we had a new teaser trailer because I don't know if John Cena was actually on the show. I don't think John Cena himself was there, but I remember after they did pretty much all of the big stuff with the post game analysis after the games, they then had what they call EJ's Nito stat of the night, which is basically Ernie Johnson, like a little segment at the end, which they can turn into pretty much anything, whether they're sending some teams fishing because they get eliminated from the playoffs or something like that. But this time around, they were like, we want to cross promote some DC stuff. And what they did was give us a sneak peek. They called it a sneak peek, so maybe that's what we can call it, or teaser, or teaser to a teaser, to Peacemaker season 2, John. So You and I both saw this. We have seen it. I'm sure some of you guys might have already seen it, but by the time you get around to watching the show, it looked very interesting. And it gives us a look at a bunch of the characters, including, of course, John Cena himself and his best friend in the show, as well as Team Peacemaker. What were your thoughts on the teaser? I'm sure we're gonna talk about it in more detail, but I just want to kind of get your initial response to I think it was like 30 odd seconds of the show that we saw.
It looked fine. Like here's the thing, I'm not the biggest Peacemaker fan. Like it's not a bad show. It's just kind of okay. I hope that season 2 is better. But I am but like I mean they do say like, oh, we save the world. So I mean that's really, I know James Gunn said like everything was canon except Justice League, but they are now in show confirming that yes, everything is pretty much canon. We'll see how they address it, like if anything. But I think it would be funny where it was like some people have been saying like in order to like retroactive like the ending is like he was imagining everything, like the Justice League wasn't actually there, because it's like, and somebody actually kind of broke it down of like maybe, or it's like maybe they were there, maybe they weren't, but it's like there was like holes in the theory of like so where I think it was a Nando V Movies video where he was like where it's like he's like putting all the holes. It's like, well, Amelia Harker was like, okay, so I was in your arms, I was knocked out, maybe dead, almost dead. Why didn't Superman just pick me up and fly me to the nearest hospital? Why would he just like look at you? And it's like, I don't remember seeing any bit. I don't remember because all the other people like John Economos and Danielle Brooks, I forget her name, but all of them didn't really look at the Justice League. They just kind of moved past them like they weren't there. The only one that was kind of the only one that was kind of like it was like interacting with them was John Cena, was Peacemaker. So it was like, did he imagine it? Did he not? I understand there's the joke of like, that's not a rumor. Fuck you, Barry. Like, I understand that. However, I think it's like, I think that might also be like a Peacemaker thing. Like, oh yeah, why don't you go fuck a fish? And then they like confirmed it because like that's my thing. So yeah, I could see them being like, yeah, that just like kind of didn't happen. That didn't really happen how we saw it happen. So yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun, however they do it. But yeah, I did like that video, and I think that would be a good way of like dealing with that. But whatever they decide to do, I think it could be funny.
I was gonna say Freddie Stroma at one point in the teaser kind of looks like almost like he's taken what's James Gunn's wife's name? Why am I forgetting? Jennifer Holland, like hostage at one point. So that looked interesting to me as well. I'm gonna get off this link that doesn't work. Let's see. Oh yeah, we have some images. Let's kind of like break it down a little bit here. The logo is, by the way, different. This looks like, I mean, it's very similar, but if you compare season 1 to season 2, definitely a different riff on the logo than what we got before. So it doesn't, I guess, tell us a whole hell of a lot about continuity or what's canon or not. But I noticed that was something new. John Cena looking, his usual John Cena self, unless you can see him. I don't know where he is in that image. Frank Grillo, of course, playing Rick Flag Sr., not with the gray hair like in the animated show, but we have seen a little bit of him already, so that's not surprising. This looks interesting, though. Freddie Stroma taking Jennifer Holland's character, what looks like hostage, maybe? Especially the way this is cut, like it's like he's dragging her back, and then John Cena and like you said, Daniel Brooks' character, they're both chasing them down. I mean, what do you think is going on here? Is this like that I don't know, this other dimension that he has in his
I mean, we do see the different logo he's rocking. So
yeah.
like, is that just, oh, he has a new logo now, or does it mean this is a new, like, oh, it's a new universe. Like, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, look, we were talking about the intro. We would love to see what they do with the intro, Jail, and the song in this is great. But like you said, John, are they going to literally address the transition from one universe to the other in a way that's part of the show? And in which case, these guys are actually from the world where they've seen a different version of Superman and Batman. I wonder if that will ever get, if that is like, they kind of go into this interdimensional hallway sort of a situation and then go into the DCU. Super Blink saying she doesn't look like a hostage. Yeah, I mean, it could be that he's just dragging her back and she's like mortally wounded or something. That could be it. That could be possibly. It's just the way they cut it. It seems like one shot.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they want us to think. So.
Yeah. Oh, Hosea, the teaser that we were talking about. So I don't know if it's on YouTube, but James Gunn has it on his own social media accounts. So if you just search for James Gunn, whether it's on Threads, Instagram, whichever social media platform you're on, he posted the clip that they shared on Inside the NBA last night. I don't know if it's on YouTube, but you guys can correct me if I'm wrong about that. Marco Ramos says, "I can't the man just dye his hair? He's trying a new look." Yeah, some good theories in the chat. The full teaser trailer is coming out soon, and we will talk about that in a second. But yeah, more looks at John Cena. We got Eagly. Love Eagly. Would love to see more of Eagly. Probably also going to be in the intro. I like how they're saying, yeah, the director of Superman and Guardians of the Galaxy. So Superman hasn't come out yet, but it would have come out by the time the show comes out, John. But with that in mind, yeah, as one of you guys were mentioning in the chat, I think Super Blink said it. They did announce that while this is a sneak peek, the actual teaser, the full teaser, because what we got here was roughly 30 seconds more or less. I guess a longer teaser, which probably will be over a minute, that will drop this Friday, May the 9th. What are your thoughts on that, John? Like, what are you expecting from Peacemaker's first official teaser trailer? And given what you've seen so far, is this one excites you? Thematically, I think visually it does line up with the first season. John Economos is in it, like all the same characters, of course. My biggest concern is how they're going to address the universe change, but like you kind of talked about, the Justice League sequence could easily be wiped out of existence. But yeah, what are your expectations? Let me just ask you that question. What are you expecting?
I hope it's better than the first season, since I was kind of unimpressed with that. But I hope it. Yeah, I just hope it's better. Like, it's just good. It'll make me laugh. It'll be kind of funny. But I mean, I do like the characters. I like different aspects, the arcs a little bit. It's just structurally, and I don't know, just it didn't click well for me. So we'll see with that. But yeah, I think
so. You weren't that impressed. I mean, let me ask you a different question then. I mean, most trailers, all they're there for is to hype us up for the actual thing, right? Like, so they're meant to get us excited. So if I were to ask you, like, give me a rating, like, out of 5 stars, how would you rate this teaser to the teaser or the sneak peek that we got? Would you call it like 3 out of 5, 1 out of 5, 5 out of 5? What were your thoughts on the overall tease?
Like maybe like a 4 out of 5. I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's not bad. I mean, that's pretty good. So you really think that the teaser on Friday is going to disappoint then?
What do you mean? A 4 out of 5 is good though.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't seem all that excited. You just mentioned before that you weren't.
I mean, I'm just kind of on the fence of it all. Like, I'll watch the show because it's part of the new universe technically. So but I'm not like fucking like drop kicking people and throwing people through windows to get to my computer to watch the show. I'm just, I'll be like, I'll watch it. That's the highest I can give it. I'll watch it. Like, out of everything I've seen from James Gunn in a superhero forum, it's the worst thing he's done. But I mean, all 3 Guardians movies were better. I haven't seen Super and I haven't seen the holiday special, so I don't know how good those are. And obviously Superman hasn't come out yet. No, I like superhero stuff. It's just like, I'm not a huge fan of like the frat guy humor of like Peacemaker. Like, I like John Cena. I like what he's done. It's just like, It's very like it's like frat dude humor, and it's like, okay, that's not totally for me, but I do like.
That's kind of the character, though.
That's not the character though. They made
least
that the
in-
character in the Suicide. Oh yeah, the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
The Suicide Squad was better. But I. That's not the character. The character is more like this, like he's real. Because from what I heard, now this could be bullshit, but I remember hearing a while ago that John Cena wanted the character to be more like not in on the joke of like him being like, I cherish peace and I'll kill as many men, women, and children I will to get it. But he was like more so like deadpan and serious about it. Like he was almost the straight man, but like in an ironic sort of way. Because he was like very much like kind of just like soldier with a hypocritical oath. That's what the character is, like this like starkly serious kind of dude. And then like then James Gunn was like, no, and that's what John Cena wanted to do. Like he wanted it to be like more of that like deadpan, but then John Cena was like, no, don't do that. Make him douchey Captain America. And that's what we got. And I'm like, I still haven't loved that decision from what I have read of Peacemaker. Like, I think doing like the original comic book character would have been way funnier. It would have been funnier, I think, and would have been way more interesting. And then what they're doing here, it never clicked with me. I thought Peacemaker was, for the most part, fine in the Suicide Squad because it was more along the lines of the character, but like still not totally. But the ensemble like made it better than it was. But now, like with the show, it's just like the humor doesn't get me. The overall story is a little generic. The characters are good. It's just like I'm not terribly invested in their subplots and stories. It didn't really make me laugh that much. But it was a good show because I was interested in where it would go, and I like John Cena. Like I just had to like ignore like, hey, this is based on comics because like they fucked up Vigilante too. I mean, that's nothing like the character at all. The original Vigilante character, well, technically the original Vigilante character was a cowboy back in the Golden Age, but like the Adrian Chase version was essentially DC's Punisher. Like he literally has the same backstory, the same like mission, the same like everything, except he's DC. Like it's essentially the same character. But then they made him like but here's the thing, Vigilante in the show is great. It's just like, again, I wish like it was more like comic book a little bit. But even with that, Freddie Stroma was good in the role, and he was probably the funniest aspect of the show. But yeah, like I want to be excited more. I hope the second season is better. I hope that the trailer is great. I expect it to be a great trailer, but we'll see if it actually is great in regards to what the season will be.
Yeah. I just found this artwork. It's official for the show. This is for the Vigilante Eagly double feature, number 5 cover. So I know that they're doing like a comic book thing with we talked about this a while ago on the show. So yeah, hey, that looks fun. Very on brand. Yeah, I mean, Superwilling saying he loves the characters that we have got now, and Vigilante was a dope character in the show, says Figure Drawing. Is everything a joke to you, James Gunn, says Marco Ramos? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I, for one, am excited to see where the trailer goes. I think what we got as a sneak peek was pretty good. It gives us a lot of information that we didn't have. There's the new looks of the characters. It gives us an idea of what the locations are where they're filming. Obviously, they're not giving away any big spoilers, but I, for one, have high expectations for this Friday because the first season was so good. It's James Gunn doing it. He wrote it. He directed a bunch of episodes. So I can only imagine that, what we're about to get is also going to be really, really, really good. But to answer Tony's question from earlier, do you think Peacemaker Season 2 will have more eyes on it than Daredevil? Well, the first season was the biggest show in the world when it was airing, so I gotta imagine that's gotta be in the same neighborhood as Daredevil. I don't remember off the top of my head if the ratings were kind of similar, but we'll just wait and find out. Maybe that's something we can kind of look up a little bit between now and when the show comes out. because the way that the two shows report their ratings was also kind of different at the time, if I remember correctly. But you're talking about shows that came out years apart. So see, and the good thing going for Peacemaker is it's more recent in terms of season 1 than the previous season of Daredevil was on Netflix versus Born Again. So, but you also have the idea that one of them is part of the MCU. Disney Plus has a lot more subscribers than Max does. So we'll just have to see how it all plays out. There's a lot of different factors going into that. So we'll have to see. Yeah. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it for the DCU daily portion of the show. Let us know in the comments down below what you're expecting from the Peacemaker teaser on Friday. Of course, we'll be here, so we're going to talk about it. We're going to break it down frame by frame, and we'll dive into all the reveals and all the big deals in the new Peacemaker Season 2 teaser. Until then, get in the comments, let us know what you thought about it. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. But we're not done yet. Remember, we kind of switch things up a little bit. So we're going to dive into a little bit of the news today before we finish up. And we might do it in more of a quick hit style because we have a bunch to get through and I don't want to be here forever. So John, let's gonna talk about some Disney stuff. You guys mentioned earlier that they were doing some announcements, like earnings calls, and announcing like their results for the previous quarter. And well, Disney kind of beat all their expectations. They even announced a new theme park in Abu Dhabi, which looks like it's going to be the most tech-forward resort yet. It's going to be operated by Miral, with Disney Imagineers designing a ton of different rides, which will focus obviously on a lot of Disney IP. And it looks interesting. I mean, again, very much just in the concepting stage right now. So that's one aspect of what Disney was talking about today. The quarter 2 earnings, like I said, beat all expectations. They announced that they have now got 126 million subscribers for Disney Plus, which is a big deal because it's a jump up from the last quarter where they actually lost subscribers. So that's a good thing. And then Bob Iger, who was on the call, was pretty excited, saying that, hey, film and TV is something where we're going to be investing a lot more outside of the US. And at a time when these tariffs talk is going around town, he was saying that, look, we're going to want to grow our streaming service by investing more in localized content, kind of like what Netflix does with like a lot of Korean language content, a lot of, content from India directly, like other parts of the world, like local French programming, British programming. And it looks like Disney Plus and Bob Iger, like they're looking to do the same thing because that's how they will drive a more expansion and growth for the streaming service, which makes sense. The localized content, people can connect with stories they want to see on their screens coming from Disney. And then to kind of round out the thing, Bob Iger did say that Disney's film slate in the next 18 months is the best it's been since 2019, when, of course, they had Avengers Endgame come out. I mean, not to mention they had a bunch of other big movies that year as well. He did name pretty much every movie that will be coming out in the next 18 months, including Lilo and Stitch, which we know is going to debut to a huge number, over 130 million potentially. And Pixar's got Elio in June, Fantastic Four comes out in July, Avatar 3 comes out at the end of the year. Then between that, we have Tron Ares, Zootopia 2. He's not wrong. Not to mention in the next 18 months, we'll also be getting Mandalorian and Grogu movie and Avengers Doomsday. John, do you think he's right? I mean, of course, he's the CEO of the company, so I imagine he's, more likely to be right than most people. But like Disney's film slate in the next 18 months might have like a good $6 billion films. So do you think the excitement is warranted?
Maybe.
That's one hell of a damn towel on everything. Come on, man.
I don't fucking believe anything these fucking assholes gotta say. Like, oh, this is gonna be the greatest thing ever. Wow, it's like almost like you're gonna fucking you're running the company and you're trying to pump your numbers up, douchebag.
No, but I mean, he's not wrong though. Like it's got a bunch of franchise movies coming out, which, I mean, obviously those movies pull numbers, so I understand where he's coming from. But yeah, when you look at that and you compare to what they did in 2019, I don't think, well, I guess Avatar 3 is probably a $2 billion movie, but outside of that, none of the other movies are going to make $2 billion, but there's definitely a couple in there that will make $1 billion, if not maybe like 3 or 4. So yeah, I mean, Antonio in the chat saying the pit numbers grew and they were strictly on Max. That's true. Antonio, you were talking about the Peacemaker story. The Peacemaker, I think, will do really, really well with the ratings because now it's part of a bigger universe and it's probably going to have cameos, which people are going to want to take part in. So that will be interesting. Chuck Rod in the chat as well. Hello, Chuck. Jose is excited for Lilo and Stitch and Avatar Fire and Ash. Avatar Fire and Ash probably gonna make $1 billion in a sleep. Yeah. Man of Time saying John Cena versus Charlie Cox. John Cena has way more fans. Yeah, I guess if you go off of that, then Peacemaker will do bigger numbers than Daredevil did. But we'll have to just wait and see. The next story I wanted to get into quickly, John, is let's talk about the latest update from the world of the tariffs on movies, which is still very flimsy. There's no real plan out there, but apparently Hollywood studio heads are now going to address the proposal with MPA chief Charles Rifkin, and they've called for a session later this week to talk about the next steps. So at least it looks like finally the studio heads are trying to get together and figure something out. But that's the latest update in terms of what Hollywood is going to be doing, because we don't yet have a plan from Washington. So they're going to try to at least kind of huddle up and see what they might want to come up with as a preemptive response. Now, the other question that has been going around town in Hollywood is, does TV get a free pass in this plan? Because a lot of television nowadays is filmed abroad. It's not filmed in the US, John. So do you think these plans that don't yet exist but were announced will address television as well? Or is it just going to be the movies?
I would imagine that it's all entertainment, like all encompassing. Because like having both would be even dumber. So that's what I imagine is going to happen. It's like everything,
Yeah.
all of it is very dumb. So yeah, I would imagine that it brings TV in there too.
Well, Antonio, I do agree with you. Avatar 3 will probably be the biggest movie of the year, box office wise. Now, John Voight, the father of Angelina Jolie, the father she doesn't really get along with, but he was one of the
I wonder why.
He's one of the ambassadors to Hollywood that President Trump had appointed, and he had a plan that he submitted over the past weekend, which is what kind of started all of this going downhill. But apparently in that plan, there was a 10% federal incentive that was part of it. There was a cultural test, quote unquote, which is similar to what they do in the UK a little bit to again promote American movies. And then FinCEN rules. So just again, different ways to incentivize production to stay or come back to US shores. But this plan was released by Deadline yesterday, but it wasn't finished. It was an unfinished draft, according to John Voight and his team. So I guess, even that isn't really a full answer. But, if you guys have read that, then there's a little more to it in terms of what they might be thinking behind the scenes. It might inform, our knowledge of what eventually gets passed from Washington. With that said, though, John, I think this was probably the best part of it all today. The Whoopi Goldberg retort to President Trump saying this is going to be incredibly limited. Please stop. And then she just said, could you please just lower the price of eggs before you start this? Of course, she's an EGOT winner in her own right, so she knows what she's talking about, John. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of obvious, but I will just ask you the question: do you think cutting the price of eggs is probably should be a higher priority than trying to save Hollywood in a way that might destroy it in the first place?
Yeah, the reason that the egg prices are high is because they're artificially making them high because of money. That's literally it. A lot of people are like, oh, it's because of the bird flu or whatever. But no, it's just like what happens is they hear something that's happening in that like type of industry, and then they artificially bring it up. Like when COVID dropped, it mysteriously the egg prices went up, even though nothing was going on to the birds or the eggs or anything. And so that's what they do. It's kind of like what De Beers does with diamonds. They artificially like limit it so that diamonds are more expensive. Like that's literally all it is.
No, it's true. Yeah.
But it was a guy, I forget what the user's name is, but he has a little video series called "Is That a Scam?" Yep. And he cited his sources and he showed all these articles in his story, but he did do a video on that. So try to find that. I don't know the name of the user, but that's who I'm talking about. That's the reason why. And so, it's just money reasons why eggs are like $15 a carton now. So yay.
Yay, indeed. That's just terrible, man. Like that should not cost that much anyway. Whatever. Thunderbolts, by the way, this article I thought is worth a read. If you guys haven't read this or haven't found this, this is on IndieWire. I recommend you guys go check it out because if you're interested in movies and how they make money at the box office, they basically break down how most of the movies that Marvel has put out since Endgame, regardless of how much money they make on opening weekend, most of them have finished with around 2.3% of the total box office that they earned of the domestic box office in North America. When you multiply the opening weekend number by 2.3, that's kind of the number they came up with. And like for example, Captain America: Brave New World opened to $89 million. It finished with like in like the 200 some odd million dollars range. So like 2.3% times what they opened to. Ant-Man and the Wasp did something similar. The Marvels, they all, and the reason why is because they all take a nosedive after opening weekend because people don't like the movie as much. Whereas Thunderbolts, it's already off to a fantastic start. It's lower than like Captain America 4 even was, so it's on the lower end of what most Marvel movies make on opening weekend. But even then, like it's got such good word of mouth, and it's doing so well with the critics that they expect this movie to do a lot better, like 2.5 times its opening weekend, potentially even 3 times. And those are the kind of numbers that movies like Pixar movies do, which make billions of dollars. So that's a good thing for Marvel because they used to just sleep their way through those kind of numbers, but it seems like they've been struggling at the box office recently. But Thunderbolts, or the new Avengers, is not going to fall prey to that, which good. The quality of the movie speaks for itself. And then I saw these clever Thunderbolts character posters, which I thought was funny because I'm like, these could all be individual logos for Disney Plus shows. Like, give me a Ghost show. I would totally watch the hell out of a Red Guardian show. US Agent, I'm kind of okay with that. And then of course Taskmaster there too. So, and Bob, that's my favorite. Let's just do Bob. That almost looks like it's a Despicable Me thing. So, or the new Avengers. Maybe we could do that, or the Sentry. I don't know, guys. But which one of these logos impresses you the most? John's gonna be right back, but I'd like to get your thoughts on that. Figure Drawing saying De Beers, you're right about Dimods are not scarce or rare at all. So talking about the egg situation from earlier. Super Blink, I don't know if it's struggling at the box office, Thunderbolts. I think it's doing quite well. In fact, when we look at the numbers of the opening weekend and what it's been doing midweek, it's doing pretty damn good. I mean, it's not blowing doors off the hinges, but it's doing well. And they've been promoting the hell out of it. Like there was a new clip to put out there with Sebastian Stan and of course David Harbour, our Red Guardian fancy, and they were just doing word association, which is fun. It's amazing to me the amount of promotion that they're putting behind this movie after it's released. And I know Marvel movies do it all the time anyway, but it's still fun to see. And Sebastian Stan, of course, living his best life, and David Harbour living his best life. So, and I saw a clip where they were like pulling up to CinemaCon a few weeks ago, and David Harbour apparently was driving the limo. That was hilarious. Almost killed a guy. that limo is not a fun ride. But you know what? Florence Pugh is part of this movie, and I was gonna make this transition. I know you guys were thinking where I was going, but I'm not gonna go there. But it seems like Florence Pugh has been on quite the run, and you see that Thunderbolts is only the latest in a line of amazing movies that she's been a part of, going back to Oppenheimer, The Boy and the Heron, Dune Part 2. She's gonna be in the next Dune movie as well. We Live in Time, and of course Thunderbolts now, or aka the Avengers, the new Avengers. What do you think about Florence Pugh and just the run that she's on right now? It's amazing. Like, she goes from one great movie to the other. Obviously, she's a great actress, so like that plays a part into it. But it's just good to see that she's doing great. I mean, Zendaya is doing great, of course. You've got a lot of young up and coming actors who are doing fantastic, and Florence Pugh is one of them. Chuck Rod in the chat saying they better make that money fast because when Lilo Stitch hits theaters, it's game over. And you know what? You're not wrong. Sorry, not Florence Pugh, but like Thunderbolts, which she's a part of, doesn't have a lot of runway because there's a bunch of movies starting to come out. I think this week is a little on the low side in terms of there's no big movie. But then next week and the week after, the week after, the week after, now we're getting to the summer movie season. So, and before you know it, it's Memorial Day coming out like later this month, and Mission Impossible and Lilo and Stitch come out. Thunderbolts will be an afterthought after after that, and then you have Superman, and then you get into Smurfs season, and Fantastic Four. So yeah, Thunderbolts needs to make its money fast, but that's true for the summer movie season, right? But there's usually enough money to go around that most movies can do well. Like you can have 3 movies that can all be successful. But John, just in time, what are your thoughts on Wyatt Russell?
I got a new shirt.
You got a
and
Captain America shirt. Perfect timing. Well, Wyatt Russell recently addressed that he has seen that Up meme, Carl from Up. He said that one my wife showed me. It was effing genius. Kind of on point too. What are your thoughts? Taking it on the chin, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, I mean, gotta roll with the punches, roll with the memes. I think that's pretty I think it was pretty funny. That was like the first thing everyone saw when they saw that. So, like the whole thing of like he literally doesn't fit in the role of Captain America, but like in terms of like the suit not fitting, that's why it kind of looks and feels weird. So I kind of like that little bit right there. But yeah, everyone's like, yeah, he always looks like Carl there. So I think I like how he's taking it in stride. That's like really what you got to do in terms of that.
Yeah. Yep. Figure Drawing asking a question: if Thunderbolts doesn't make more than a bit more than its budget, yet it's still good, I think Marvel can live with that, right? And then he followed that up with a second question saying, I asked that because if the same thing happens with Superman, not a huge hit, but still really good, like critics love it, fans love it, then DC should be cool with that, right? John, what do you think? The 2-part question there. Do you think that Thunderbolts is gonna, Marvel's gonna be okay if Thunderbolts only gets to like 500 million? And then as a follow up to that, do you think Superman will be okay with DC if it only makes like 500 million?
That's really tough because I think with Thunderbolts, I think they should be okay if they recognize that they're not going to automatically get the biggest hit of the year during like this time, because it's like I think they maybe have to understand with Thunderbolts is like was never going to be $1 billion movie, and I think that even they recognize that, but I think they're going in on the marketing because they realize that Captain America: Brave New World, this was not a movie that was really going to be. It was it was greenlit during the Chapek era. It was just like same with Ironheart. They just kind of it was just kind of leftovers, and they're like, let's kind of not let's just like shit this out, try to make it work, and then if it doesn't, whatever. Thank you very much. I realized I didn't have as many graphic tees as I wanted, and a lot of them are starting to get holes, so I bought a few of them. He is, so shush. It's just like that was a design choice. But I think like Thunderbolts, I think I can see them getting at the most maybe $600 million, but I think they'll recognize that they're playing the long game. As they said, this is like the new beginning. This is the start of like their new like the restructuring, rebuilding. So I think they're going to recognize that it's going to take time, but the fact that the critical reception and for the most part the box office are good, like the critical reception and the audience reception is fantastic. And then the box office, I think, is going to show that. And I think they're going to realize, okay, well, this is a good start. Now we'll see where it takes us with Fantastic Four first steps. There's that. Now with the Superman part of the question, I really don't fucking know. Because these are the same people that said an almost $900 million making movie was a bomb. So I'm really curious now. I think they might be a bit more lenient now because
look, so I don't think they said it was a bomb. Sorry, I was muted, but like I don't know.
Like they said it was not a success and underperformed because it's not a $2 billion movie, so it underperformed. Up, like okay. Technicals. However, I think they're going to be a bit more lenient with it now that Minecraft is a way fucking bigger hit than they ever thought possible. So I think they're going to look at it from like an all-encompassing money standpoint. They're like, okay, Superman might not make $1 billion, but we do have this other $1 billion movie. We have this other like hugely popular original movie that's making shit tons of money. So that's my hope, that they'll recognize that those movies will make more money than they originally thought. And then if Superman maybe underperforms in their view, it won't be as bad. I don't think they're going to, remember, this is a new leadership. This is James Gunn. I don't think they're going to junk the whole thing like they did with like, Man of Steel and BVS underperformed. Well, time to close up shop and redo this guy's entire vision and just go off in like a million different directions that don't make sense. So I don't think they can afford to do that again. I think they just have to like stay the course at this point. But I mean, they already have like a movie in production now. They have a TV show in production, and they're going to have Clayface in production soon. They're going to hopefully have the Batman Part 2 in production soon. So, but that's a whole other universe, so I guess that doesn't matter. But I don't think they're going to view it as a total failure. I just think hopefully they recognize that it's not going to make $1 billion. I don't think Superman is going to make $1 billion. I would hope it does. I hope it does. But I think like it'll maybe make like 750 million at the most. But
yeah, like the Batman kind of money. I think that's probably a fair
number.
No,
I think like that's like around what the Batman made. Because I think people are still kind of struggling with like the view of Superman at this point, which is a shame, but that's just the reality. So yeah, I think hopefully they can see that, okay, it'll make money, but it just won't make $1 billion, and that'll be good enough.
I mean,
I think it'll be a hit too. I don't think it'll be a failure. I don't like it. Superman's too big to be a failure at this point.
Yeah, and look, they should, like Super Billing saying, it shouldn't stop them from making. I mean, it hasn't stopped them. They're already working on the next 3 movies. So, but in general, I think Superman, even if it makes 700, is a success, like runaway success. Because from a financial standpoint, it would be profitable. From any other parameter, from being a first movie out the gates, it would be really, really good. So I don't think that will be a problem. And quite frankly, if the critics' reception is great, because that's where Man of Steel kind of struggled, and that's what caused DC to panic back then, and Warner Brothers more specifically. The critics' reception needs to be great, and then the box office, as long as it's at least in the $600 to $700 million range, I think they will consider it a financial success, because that lines up with how much they're spending on marketing it and the budget of the movie too. But speaking of, of course, comparing it to Marvel and where the MCU is, Bob Iger, as part of that earnings call today, mentioned that Thunderbolts is the first and best example of Marvel's new focus on quality over quantity, saying by consolidating a bit.
Finally figured that out, buddy. Okay.
But he said by consolidating a bit and having Marvel focus much more on their films, we believe that will result in better quality. This, of course, is something Kevin Feige and Bob Iger really wanted to kind of switch focus on, because when Bob Chapek was around, he took a lot of power away from Kevin Feige and what he could do. So it was all about like push as much stuff to Disney Plus as you possibly can. And clearly we saw that the quality went downhill, completely downhill. But when Kevin Feige was reinstated with like the full due powers that are his now and were before when Bob Iger was around, he's been able to do things like restart production on Daredevil and make a much better show than what was before. We have seen, of course, they'd made a lot of course corrections for the upcoming schedule. They're doing a bunch of stuff this year. You got 5 TV shows.
But I will say it is
movies.
Funny how he says he gave Nichols for this project and now he wants all the credit. Yeah, that's exactly that's essentially what he did when he was commemorating David Lynch. He's like, this motherfucker took all the power away from him during Twin Peaks and then canceled the fucking show, and then fucking 30 years later, now he's like, oh, he was a genius mind. It's like, bro, you fucking ruined the show he was trying to fucking make. Eat a dick. Don't take the fucking credit now. But that's essentially what he's doing, because that's what Bob Iger does. Because Bob Iger is a sack of shit.
Of the company. I'm like, good times or bad. Like, you can't be like, give him credit for the bad stuff, but not for the good stuff. I don't know. Like, I'm just saying things have changed direction. Like, things have changed for Marvel. Clearly there's a new focus on, we got to do less, but we got to do it better. like what we were doing before we decided to do 10 shows and 5 movies every year. And what they have coming out this year, a lot of those are holdovers from what was during the Bob Chapek era. And then once all of that is out, including Wonder Man, Ironheart, I mean, hopefully they're good, but even if they're not, moving forward, like next year, we only have 2 movies on the horizon for, you know, for Marvel, and one of them is like a Sony co-production with Spider-Man Brand New Day, and then the other one is of course Avengers Doomsday. And I think their goal is to go back to doing like 2 shows and 2 movies a year, more or less. And I think that's a good number. You know, Daredevil Born Again is getting a new season next year. They're bringing back the Marvel special presentations with Punisher. Thunderbolts, obviously, they feel really confident about, is got one of the highest Rotten Tomatoes scores for any Marvel movie in recent memory. And while it's not a box office runaway success, it's doing good. Like it's doing good, which, you know, that's going to be a build up over time. And yeah, you guys were mentioning that, yeah, the Man of Steel did struggle because of his critic reception, and hopefully Superman, the new Superman, will not have that problem. And the toys and merchandise, of course, we talk about them literally every day. So I'm sure that, you know, that's going to be a part of the process. But yeah, the big DC news, if you guys joined in late earlier, just to kind of wrap things up, the Peacemaker Season 2 sneak peek, as they called it on Inside the NBA yesterday. John Cena was the one who helped introduce it, and we got to look at the new teaser to the teaser trailer. It showed a bunch of the characters from the show. The whole cast is back. We get Frank Grillo in there. We don't give away a lot of story details, but we do get enough to, you know, hopefully give us a better idea of where things are headed. But John, with that in mind, we will bring today's show to a close, an early edition of DCU Daily and Also Curious. And we thank you so much for joining us here. John's got to go see a movie, a fantastic horror film. I got to go get busy with the NBA game, the Knicks and Celtics playing game 2 of the conference semifinals, I guess they're calling them, in the Eastern Conference. Go Celtics. But anyway, we'll see you guys tomorrow on another episode of DCU Daily.